Welcome to Son of a Glitch. Join us as we explore some of the internet's craziest glitch stories. Story 1. I always put my purse in the baby seat of the cart. Always. It's one of those little rules you give yourself when you move countries alone. Purse in front, phone in the side pocket, keys clipped to the zipper, so nothing and no one can take your life away in one grab. That afternoon, Dollar General was quiet. Too quiet for 4 p.m. in a Texas strip mall, honestly. The bell over the door did its half-hearted ring when I came in, and the cool air hit my face. I slid my black purse into the front of the cart, wrapped the strap once around the handle, habit, and started down the aisles. I was just doing a small shop. A new lip gloss in a very specific mauve shade, the same nude eyeshadow palette I always buy, a particular brand of body soap that reminds me of home. A couple of bath bombs, lavender and one weird mango coconut one, some chips, chocolates, instant noodles, and a few cheap groceries. Maybe 15, 20 items total. I didn't leave the cart. Not once. I'm that annoying shopper who pushes the cart right up against the shelf and blocks everyone. I'd pick up an item, look at it, drop it in the cart, check my list on my phone. The wheels squeaked, so I always knew where my cart was. Sometimes I felt someone behind me, but when I glanced back, it was just empty aisle, humming fluorescent lights. "Ma'am, you find everything okay?" One of the associates called from the front. "Yes, thank you," I answered, my Filipino accent softening the words. He smiled and went back to pretending to face the candy shelf. I did a final loop, passed the same little seasonal aisle twice, and went to self-checkout. I scanned each thing myself, beep, 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 watching the total inch up while I tried to ignore the guilt of buying unnecessary bath bombs when I'm also sending money back home. Lip gloss mauve. Eyeshadow palette, neutral nudes. Cherry lip balm. Lavender bath bomb. Mango coconut bath bomb. Soap, 3 bars, the blue packaging. Chips. Candy. Instant noodles. Milk. Eggs. I bagged everything, double-bagged the heavier stuff. It was weirdly comforting, seeing all my little choices lined up on the screen like proof I existed. Then I reached for my purse. It wasn't there. For a second, my brain just refused. The cart was right in front of me, the bags in the big basket, the child seat empty. My hand grabbed air. I blinked, bent down, checked underneath, checked behind the scanner, turned my head left and right. No purse. The panic was instant and ugly. My passport card, my ID, my debit card, the cash I'd just taken out, my rosary, copies of my immigration papers, all in that purse. I heard my mother's voice in my head, "Anik, be careful. Not everyone is kind there." I tried to remember exactly what I did. Did I move it? Did I hang it on my shoulder? Did I leave it in an aisle? The thought made me feel stupid and reckless in a way that burned. I waved over the same associate, my voice coming out higher than I wanted. "Excuse me, I think I left my bag somewhere. Can I leave these here just for a minute?" "Yeah, of course," he said, looking concerned. "You want me to check cameras?" "Maybe after," I muttered. I'll check first." I walked back the way I'd come, heart pounding in my ears. Only a few feet away from self-checkout, at the end of the makeup aisle, there was another cart. At first I only noticed it because it was parked wrong, slightly crooked, nose pointing out instead of straight. Then I saw the purse in the front. My purse. Same scuffed strap. Same tiny fray on the zipper. Same little keychain with the tiny Santo Niño that my Lola blessed before I left Manila. I froze. The humming lights got louder, like they were inside my head. Slowly, I looked into that cart. Lip gloss, the same mauve shade. The same eyeshadow palette, exact brand and colors. The same cherry lip balm. Lavender bath bomb. Mango coconut bath bomb. Blue packaged soap, 3 bars. The same chips. Same candy. Same instant noodles. Same milk. Same eggs. Item for item, piece for piece, it was my cart. My fingers went numb. I grabbed the handle and pushed the second cart back to self-checkout, wheels squeaking louder than before. The associate watched, puzzled. "You got 2?" he asked. I parked both carts side by side, the one I'd scanned, and the one with my purse that I'd supposedly left in the aisle. I started pulling things from one and lining them up with matching items in the other, like I was doing some demented spot the difference game. There was no difference. Same number of items. Same brands. Same shades. Even the way I'd instinctively place things, makeup grouped together, bath stuff in a corner, food on the bottom, was replicated perfectly. Right down to the slightly crushed chips bag, and the way the bath bombs rested against the milk. "I don't understand," I whispered. "You okay, ma'am?" the associate asked. How? I swallowed. How did this cart get here? He shrugged. No idea. Maybe someone copied you? I dunno. A comment I'd once read online floated into my mind. What if someone follows you and picks up the exact same items, just to see if you notice? I looked around. The store was almost empty. A woman with a toddler was in the far aisle. A teenage boy in a hoodie at the cooler. The manager at the front. No one close enough, no one obvious. But somebody had been behind me. Close enough to see exactly which lip gloss shade I chose, which brand of soap, which bath bomb scents. Close enough to mirror every motion without ever bumping into me. Story 2. I'm not easily shaken. I grew up 5 blocks from a gas station where people argued with their hallucinations in broad daylight, and fireworks and gunshots sounded the same in July. I've seen some things. But that night? That man on the bike? I still think about him every time I drive past that intersection. We were on our way to the airport, me and my girls, 3-something in the morning, that ugly hour where the world feels half asleep and half wrong. It was early summer, the kind of night where the air is warm, but the sky still looks tired. Streets in our suburb outside Detroit were mostly empty, just the orange glow of streetlights and the occasional car. I was in the passenger seat, scrolling on my phone, fake awake. My friend Tia was driving, and we'd just picked up our other friend, Kiera, from her place a few minutes away from DTW. We had our suitcases in the back, airport outfits on, lashes done, hair wrapped or hooded so TSA wouldn't ruin our lives. We rolled up to a red light at this intersection I've passed 1,000 times. It's one of those wide, boring roads, 2 lanes each way, a gas station on one corner, a little strip mall on the other, fake trees the city planted to pretend it's cute. Dang, it's sprinkling already, Tia muttered, flicking the wipers on low. She glanced ahead and added, he better move. He gon' be soaked. I looked up from my phone. That's when I saw him. He was riding toward us on a bright red bicycle, hugging the edge of the road where the curb is. Dude looked regular as hell. Mid-30s, maybe early 40s, light brown skin under the streetlights, a beanie pulled down over shaggy hair that stuck out at the bottom. Flannel shirt, shorts, a backpack slung tight. The kind of person you see and forget in 2 seconds. He was heading straight for the crosswalk in front of our car. Street lamp right there, lighting everything up. No fog, no darkness to hide anything. He was real, solid, undeniable. Kiera leaned forward between the front seats. "Oh nah, he like me FR," she laughed. Biking in the rain like a dummy. We were all looking at him now. No music on, just the low hum of the engine and the tick of the blinker. He got closer. 10 feet. 8. Then it happened. At first, I thought my vision did that thing where your eyes go weird, like when you stand up too fast. His colors faded, not like the headlights washed him out, but like someone dragged a filter over him. You know those old sepia photos? Warm, brownish, faded like a memory? That. His bright red bike went dull brown. His flannel, his beanie, his skin. Everything shifted to that old-timey color, like an old movie playing on a dusty projector. My first thought was, what the? Then he flickered. Not blink and you miss it flicker. It was like he stuttered. 1 second he was there, the next he was half there, transparent around the edges, then solid again like frames missing in a film. "Yo," I whispered. Tia's grip on the wheel tightened. "You seeing this?" We were maybe 4 feet from him now. He was right in front of us, about to roll into the crosswalk under the streetlight. Rain tapped softly on the windshield. The wipers slid across in slow, lazy arcs. He didn't look at us. His face stayed neutral, focused ahead. The wheels of the bike turned, but I could see the lines in the pavement through the spokes. Then he went see-through. I mean it literally. I could see the white stripes of the crosswalk through his legs, the pole of the streetlight through his shoulder. He was still moving, still pedaling, but he was a ghost of himself, muted, translucent, fuzzed at the edges like bad reception. Kiera gasped. "Nah. No. What the?" It felt like the world held its breath. For one long, stretched-out second, he flickered quicker, like reality couldn't decide if he was allowed to be there. Solid, faded, sepia, transparent, solid again. Then he was gone. Not rode out of sight. Not turned a corner. One frame he was there, the next he just wasn't. Bike, backpack, beanie, all of it. The crosswalk was empty. The street light shone on nothing. I felt my whole body go cold. My fingertips tingled. My eyes burned like I was about to cry. I snapped my head to the left and locked eyes with Tia. Her mouth was open, eyes huge, knuckles white on the steering wheel. No one was laughing. From the back seat, Kiera's voice wobbled. "Hey! Hey! Where did he go? Y'all saw that, right? He turned see-through. I'm not tweaking, am I? Like seriously, where did he go? What the lucky charms was that? My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. The light turned green. Tia didn't move. We just sat there for a moment, 3 black women in a parked car under a green light, staring at an empty crosswalk where a man on a bike had just failed to exist properly. Drive, I whispered. Please. She eased her foot onto the gas, like she was afraid if she moved too fast, she'd knock something loose in the universe. The whole way to the airport, we replayed it again and again, tripping over each other's words. You saw the colors change, right? Sepia like a filter, yes. He was normal before, he was normal. Nah, I saw the crosswalk through his legs, bro, I swear. Could he have turned around? There was nowhere to go. The sidewalk was clear. What if he fell? Invisible where? Into the ground. I had goosebumps on my arms and my eyes kept filling with tears, not because I was sad, but because my brain didn't have anywhere to put what it saw. I kept checking the cars passing by, half expecting someone else to flicker and vanish. My grandma was the superstitious one, not me. She used to say in her soft, papery voice, "Some places are thin, baby. Easier for things to cross over, harder for them to stay put." As we drove past the runway lights, I heard her voice in my head and hated that it suddenly made sense. At the airport drop-off, the world went back to normal. TSA lines, crying babies, coffee smell, tired workers. We moved with the crowd, but every time I blinked, I saw that bike under the street lamp, turning sepia and disappearing. We talked about it on the plane. We talked about it when we landed. We talked about it months later at brunch, driving home from work, on nights when the power flickered. Maybe it's a simulation, Tia said once, half joking. Like they were updating his character model and forgot we had graphics on high. An NPC glitch, Kiara laughed weakly. They hit delete instead of copy. I laughed with them, but my stomach stayed tight. Because no glitch in a video game ever made me feel like that. Small, fragile, like I just watched the rules of the world stumble. Now every time I pass that intersection I look. I slow down, scan the crosswalk, watch any pedestrian crossing under that light. On rainy mornings, when the sky is bruised and the streets shine, it feels like the world is holding its breath there. Sometimes I wonder if anyone else saw him disappear that night. Someone in another car. Story 3. I always thought it sounded a bit cooked, to be honest. Past lives, all that. Reincarnation. Cosmic soul journeys. That's the sort of thing you hear from your aunt, who won't shut up about crystals on Facebook. Not a bloke from Hamilton who works in IT and spends his weekends at Bunnings. But still, I knew. I knew long before I had a word for it. It started when I was a kid. Other kids were into dinosaurs, race cars, rugby players. I was obsessed with planes. Not just any planes, either. It was always the same one, the same shape. Chunky body, big radial engine, folding wings. I'd see it in books and feel weirdly relieved. Like bumping into an old friend in a crowded mall. The first time I saw a picture labeled Grumman TBF Avenger, something in my chest clicked into place. That's mine, I thought, with the certainty you usually reserve for your own handwriting. I knew things I shouldn't. I'd be watching some documentary and find myself muttering, "Nah, that's not the right panel layout," or, "You wouldn't reach that switch from there, mate," before the narrator even said anything. Mum just called it being a clever clogs and shrugged it off. But in my dreams, I wasn't clever. I was terrified. Sometimes I'd wake up with the smell of burning oil in my nose, heart going off like a jackhammer. I'd hear shouting over a radio, muffled through static, and feel cold wind clawing at my face, and a sick, falling feeling in my stomach. Once, when I was about 12, I woke up mid-fall, hands gripping invisible controls, yelling coordinates that made no sense. I wrote them down anyway. They looked like something you'd see on a map. I shoved the paper in a drawer and tried to forget about it. Years passed. I grew up. Got a job, a girlfriend, a student loan. The dreams came and went. The weird familiarity with the Avenger never really left, but I stopped telling people about it. Every time I tried, I heard how it sounded out loud, insane. Then earlier this year I saw a poster at the local cafe. Warbodes over Waikato this weekend. Featuring P-51 Mustang, Spitfire, and Grumman TBF Avenger. I stared at the word Avenger, so long my coffee went cold. It was less than an hour's drive away. For the first time in my life, there was an Avenger in reach. A real one. Not in a book or on a screen. My hands were shaking when I took a photo of the poster. I sent it to my mate with a dumb caption, Oi, planes, like that covered whatever was happening in my chest. Saturday came. Grayish sky, a bit of wind. I drove out to the airfield with my stomach doing flips. Parked in a paddock full of cars, walked through the gate with everyone else. The smell hit me first, hot sausage sizzles, jet fuel cut grass. Kids with earmuffs, old guys in flying jackets with patches, everyone craning their necks to see. And then I saw it. It was parked near the far end of the line, a little set apart like it knew it was special. Blue-gray fuselage, white star on the side, that big beefy engine at the front. The Avenger. For a second, everything went quiet. The wind, the commentary over the loudspeakers, the chatter, it all dropped into the background. My body went cold and hot at the same time. It felt like being picked up by a wave. My feet moved before my brain caught up. I walked toward it, not really seeing the people I weaved around. The closer I got, the more wrong everything else felt, like the rest of the world was a cardboard set, and this was the only real thing. Electricity ran up my spine. My hands were tingling. I swear my vision tunneled. Just me and that plane, like it was leaning toward me too. "Mate, you alright?" someone asked. I barely heard them. Up close, the paint was a bit chipped, the metal slightly dull. That should have disappointed me. It didn't. It made my eyes sting. "You're still here," I thought absurdly. "You made it." My throat closed up. I was actually about to cry over a bloody aeroplane in front of a bunch of strangers. I laughed once, bitter and shaky. There was a small crowd, but not a big one. A guy in a polo shirt with the aircraft's logo on it was standing near the wing, answering questions. I hovered at the edge until he glanced my way. "Hey, how's it going?" he said. American accent. "You keen on the old Grumman?" I opened my mouth and, for some reason, told the truth. "I think I flew one," I said. Before? He frowned. "In another life," I said quietly, feeling stupid as the words left my mouth. I expected a laugh, a polite nod, a quick change of subject. Instead, he studied my face for a moment, eyes narrowing, then shrugged. "Life's weird, man," he said. "You want to sit in it?" My heart stopped. "Are you serious?" "Yeah, go on. Be respectful, don't kick anything, you'll be right." He led me to the cockpit ladder. I put my hand on the metal and almost reeled back. It was like touching a photograph that suddenly turned 3D. There was a familiarity in the way the rungs were spaced, the give in the metal, the angle of the fuselage under my other hand. I climbed up, slid down into the seat. The world snapped into place. I can't explain it any other way. The seat felt right under me. Not just comfortable, correct. Like my body had been built for this spot. My hands moved on their own. Left hand to the throttle quadrant. Right hand dropping to the familiar forest of switches. I didn't have to search. I didn't have to think where would the magneto be, or how do I, my fingers knew. "Whoa, careful, don't." The crew guy started, but then stopped, watching. I didn't flip anything, like he said, but my fingers hovered over them in the exact sequence I'd have used to start the engine. Master. Fuel pump. Magnetos. Primer. Starter. My chest hurt. I looked down at the worn edges of the panels, the little scratches on the metal. Deja vu hit, so hard I felt nauseous. I could almost see other hands there, grubby, younger maybe, moving in the same pattern. Hear a voice behind me. Some wisecrack yelled over the intercom. Wind hammered faintly at the cockpit glass. For a split second, the airfield outside wavered. And I was somewhere else. Water. Endless, glittering water beneath. A gray, low sky. The drone of the engine vibrating through my bones. I could smell salt and oil, hear the faint crackle of a radio, and someone saying something I almost understood. I blinked, and it was gone. Back to the New Zealand airfield. Back to kids with ice creams, and someone selling coffee out of a caravan. "Reckon you've done this before," the crew guy said quietly. I let out a shaky breath. "Yeah," I whispered. "I reckon I have." He chuckled, but it wasn't mean. "You even went for the starter sequence. Most folks just poke random stuff." I swallowed hard and reached back toward the canopy frame, stretching my arm exactly where it needed to go. The metal was cool. The angle of my wrist felt practiced. Muscle memory from a body that wasn't mine anymore. I didn't see anything dramatic. No ghosts in the glass. No flashes of flame. Just a heavy, familiar sorrow rising up out of nowhere, like missing someone whose name you can't remember. When I finally climbed out, my legs felt weak. The crew guy clapped me on the shoulder. "Good to have you back, man," he said, smiling. "Even if just for a bit." I laughed at that, but the sound came out thin. Story 4. I still remember the smell of oil and masala that day. It was one of those lazy spring afternoons in southern Ontario where the sun finally decides to act like it remembers how to shine. Not too hot, not too cold, the kind of weather where your mom throws open the windows and says, "Bess, no more heater. Hydro bill already too high." I was at my friend Samira's house like I was every other weekend back then. Her place was one of those typical detached homes in a subdivision, little boxes side by side, each with a square patch of front lawn and fenced-off backyards. You know the type: beige siding, small porch, wooden fence between each house. Comfortably boring. Her backyard was the nicest part. They'd set up this huge gazebo the summer before, metal frame, dark fabric canopy, fairy lights along the inside, a little table with a candle in the middle. It was kind of their pride and joy. Her mom would brag about how it survived all the winter wind, mashallah, no problem. That day, though, we were in the basement, hiding from the grown-ups like always. The basement was our cave. Old couch, TV, game console, snacks hidden in drawers. We had the lights off, just the TV flickering, some drama playing in the background while we scrolled on our phones and half-talked trash about people from school. Upstairs, I could smell something frying, probably pakoras. The faint sizzle came through the vents. Every now and then, we'd hear her mom call out in Urdu, "Samira, chai bana do," and Samira would yell back, "Ammi later," and then look at me and roll her eyes. Everything was normal. Boring. Solid. Then we heard the bang. It wasn't the light kind of noise like someone dropped a spoon or closed a cupboard too hard. It was a heavy, ugly thump that shook the ceiling a little, like someone had thrown a wardrobe on the floor. Samira and I both froze. "Yo, what was that?" I asked. "Probably my brother being a donkey," she said, but she was already sitting up listening. The TV suddenly felt too loud. She grabbed the remote and muted it. The silence after the bang felt weird, like the house was holding its breath. "Come," she said, getting up. "Let's go see before Ammi starts yelling." We went upstairs. Her house always felt different after you came up from the basement, brighter, smaller somehow. Her mom was in the kitchen, standing at the stove, turning something in a frying pan. Oil smell hit us properly now, thick and comforting. "Did you hear that?" Samira asked. Her mom frowned. "Han, I heard. I thought it was you lot." "No, not us," I said. "It sounded big." Her mom wiped her hands on her apron. "Check upstairs. Maybe your brother dropped something." Samira's brother yelled from his room. It wasn't me, which absolutely made him sound guiltier, but whatever. We went to her parents' bedroom, because it had the best view of the backyard. The curtains were half open, letting in bright afternoon light. I could see the neighbor's yard, their cheap plastic chairs, the patchy grass, the fence between the two properties. I stepped closer to the window, already picturing the gazebo exactly where it always was in Samira's yard. Except it wasn't. The patio where the gazebo stood was empty. I blinked. For a second, my brain tried to convince me I was looking at the wrong yard. I leaned closer, squinting. The big square of concrete behind Samira's house was bare. No frame. No canopy. No fairy lights. Just the faint outline where the legs had been and a lighter patch where the shade used to fall. Sam," I said slowly. "Where's your gazebo?" She shoved me gently aside to look. We both stared at the empty patio. It felt wrong, like a missing tooth you keep poking with your tongue. "Ammi," she shouted. "Our gazebo is gone." Her mom came rushing in. "Kihoya? What nonsense." She stopped dead when she saw the backyard. "Where did it go?" she whispered. I don't know why I turned my head left, toward the neighbor's yard. Maybe I just wanted something normal to look at. That's when I saw it. In the neighbor's backyard, just over the fence, stood the gazebo. Perfectly upright. Perfectly assembled. Like someone had picked it up out of one yard and set it down in the other with 2 fingers. "Okay, no," I said, my voice a bit too loud. "No way. Absolutely not." "There it is," Samira said faintly, pointing. How is it there?" Her mom pressed closer to the glass, hand over her mouth. "Ya Allah," she breathed. "This is some next-level jinn business." We stared at it, lined up in a row like a glitchy family photo. The fence between the 2 yards was at least 6 feet tall, maybe more. Standard wooden panels, nothing fancy. The gazebo was metal, heavy. I'd helped them assemble it one weekend. It took 3 adults and a full afternoon, with arguments, tea breaks, and a lot of swearing under their breath in Urdu when screws didn't line up. "How did it jump the fence?" I whispered without meaning to. "And land like that," Samira added. "Look at it. It's straight. It's fine." She was right. The canopy wasn't ripped. The frame wasn't twisted. The legs were all planted on the neighbor's grass, not even sunk weirdly. It was as if gravity took a break for a minute to let the gazebo do a little teleportation. Then her mom said, "Look, candle." On the small table in the center of the gazebo, in the neighbor's yard now, a single candle sat in its holder, flames still burning. Just a tiny, steady flame, not even flickering hard despite the fact the whole structure had just, flown? The hair on the back of my neck stood up. My brain went through possible explanations like flipping channels too fast. Storm wind? No, the trees barely moved. Tornado? We would have noticed. Prank? Nobody had time. We heard the bang and came straight up. Crane? In silent, invisible mode? We went downstairs and out to the backyard. I needed to see it from outside, to prove to myself there was some logical trick of perspective happening. Nope. Standing in Samira's yard, the patio looked even more naked. The neighbor's gazebo, our gazebo, loomed over the fence now, their grass uncrushed, no drag marks, no chunks of earth disturbed. The candle flame danced politely, like it was enjoying the afternoon breeze. The neighbors came out eventually, equally shocked. "We just heard a loud thump," the wife said, eyes wide. "We thought something fell inside the house. Then we looked outside and—" "Your gazebo is in our yard," her husband finished unnecessarily. "Between the 4 adults and us 2, we must have walked around that fence line 10 times looking for what exactly? A portal? Burn marks? Well, tracks? Anything. There was nothing. Just wood, grass, and this massive metal gazebo that had apparently decided it preferred the vibes next door. In the end, the neighbors had to take it apart piece by piece and carry it back over. It took them hours. I went home before they finished, but Samira texted me later. They kept saying they don't understand. Candle was still lit the whole time until they blew it out. Story 5. I keep thinking there's supposed to be 6 of us in the photos. Not 5. 6. The first time I noticed it was at my friend's wedding. Not during the party, not when we were dancing and screaming and losing our voices. Later, when I was alone in my room, scrolling through the pictures we'd all posted. In one of the videos, there's a circle of us on the dance floor. The DJ's playing some reggaeton remix, lights flashing, everyone drunk enough to stop caring about how they look. We're doing that thing where we take turns going into the middle of the circle, and everyone shouts and claps and records it for Instagram. In my head, in my memory, I can see him. He's there in the circle with us. Tall, a bit too skinny, messy hair. He goes into the middle when the beat drops, does this stupid little footwork thing, kind of like a half shuffle, half quake a step, and we scream, "S.O. Hewan!" Someone throws a napkin at him. He laughs. I remember the way the light hits his face, the way he wipes sweat from his forehead. Only in the video, that part of the song, no one is in the middle. It goes from my other friend Anna dancing. I can see her in the red dress, spinning, to an empty space. The same beat, same part of the song. Nobody in the center. The circle doesn't close up, we're still all around, bouncing, clapping to nothing. When I first watched it, I thought my phone glitched. I replayed it 3 times. The gap stayed. No boy. No stupid dance. I laughed it off. Told myself I was tired. Too much Pisco, too many late nights. Maybe I'd mixed up weddings in my head. But then it kept happening. Little moments, little flashbacks, that didn't match anything. I'd be on the bus or in the shower, and suddenly I'd see us all at the beach, sitting on the cold sand with plastic cups, wind slapping our faces. Somebody made a joke, and he laughed, that laugh like he was surprised by his own happiness. He leaned back on his hands and looked out at the ocean, and I looked at him and thought, I like him. I like that he's here. Except when I found the actual photo from that day. It's just 5 of us. No extra boy. The space where my mind insists he was sitting is empty sand and a half-buried beer bottle. I started to feel wrong, like my memories were pirated copies of some other reality. At first, I kept it to myself. In Chile, you can be eccentric, sure, but crazy? No gracias. My mom already calls me La Dramatica. When I cry at movies, I didn't need to give her new material. Then I had the dream. In the dream, we were back at the wedding, but it wasn't chaotic like the real thing. Everything was slowed down like underwater. The lights were softer, the music fuzzy, like it was leaking in from the next room. We were in the circle again, and he stepped into the middle. I saw his face clearly for the first time. Brown eyes, a little too intense. Hair falling into them. That same skinny frame, moving like he was both shy and show-off at the same time. He did the same dance, that ridiculous little heel toe, arms loose, totally offbeat but committing anyway. We were laughing. I was laughing so hard my stomach hurt, and then suddenly the laughter twisted into something else. I felt this huge wave of loss, like he was already gone, and I was watching a memory instead of a moment. I woke up crying, actually crying like someone had died. My pillow was damp. My chest was tight. And I had that feeling, when you miss someone, really miss someone, but you can't remember when you last saw them. Except I had never met him. Not really. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he was someone from another friend group bleeding into mine in my head. Maybe an actor I'd seen in some series. A guy from uni I'd noticed once and forgotten consciously. The brain does weird things. Sure. But the feeling wouldn't go away. It felt personal in a way that strangers don't. One night, sitting in my kitchen with my roommates, I finally said it. Do you ever feel like there's someone missing? In our group. I asked, stirring my tea long after the sugar dissolved. Anna raised an eyebrow. Like who? I don't know. I said, because how do you explain this without sounding insane? I keep having these memories where there's this guy. He's with us. Every time. At the wedding, at your birthday, at the beach. Talking to you, making jokes, spilling drinks. And then when I look at photos, he's not there. Like I invented him. But it doesn't feel invented. Silence. The kettle clicked off again, like it was trying to punctuate the moment. My other friend Valentina laughed first. Amiga, you're watching too many K-dramas, she said. Imaginary boyfriend arc. But Anna didn't laugh. She frowned, chewing her lip. What does he look like? I hesitated, then described him. The hair, the height, the nervous hands he hid in his pockets. The way he danced at the wedding. Anna's face paled a little. That dance, she said quietly. Like a weird shuffle, and his shoulders sort of bounce. See exactly, I said, a cold feeling crawling up my spine. You remember that? I remember someone doing that, she admitted. I remember thinking, wow, that's terrible, she added with a tiny smile. But I thought it was, I don't know. Maybe I just assumed it was one of us. Or maybe my brain made it up too. Valentina rolled her eyes. You two are freaking me out, she said, but she looked uneasy now too. We started digging after that. Looking back through group chats, old event invites, tagged photos. No unknown faces. No deleted contacts. No one who'd just stopped coming around, in that casual, normal way people disappear from friend groups. Except there were gaps. Little things. A message from 2 years ago where I wrote, tell him not to be late this time, face with tears of joy, but never specified who him was. A video where you can hear someone's voice off camera, male, laughing, but no one remembers who was holding the phone. A drunk text I sent to Anna that just said, he's actually so sweet, I hate it, at 3 a.m. She never replied. When I showed her, she stared at it and said, I thought you meant your ex. I asked the friend whose outfit supposedly got ruined at a birthday party. You don't remember him spilling his drink on you? I pressed. You were so mad. You made that face like... I imitated her, the deep frown. She snorted. A guy spilled a drink on me once and lived, she said. Yeah, no, that never happened, BB. I'd remember. But we remember you being angry, I said. All of us. We talked about it for days. Maybe I was just being a bitch for some other reason, she shrugged, and that was that. The more I looked, the worse it got. It was like someone had done a sloppy edit of my life, cutting out a character, but leaving bits of dialogue hanging around him, like ghost sentences. Sometimes, at night, when I'm walking home and the streets are quiet, I swear I hear footsteps falling into rhythm with mine. Not close enough to be scary, just there. If I stop, they stop. If I turn, there's no one. In reflective surfaces, the metro window at night, the dark TV screen in the living room, I sometimes see the shape of someone over my shoulder for half a second. Tall, messy hair, turning away just as I look. I tell myself it's just the way the light hits. Just my imagination. Just all the stories I've read rotting my brain.